Alright, lock in. I want to discuss the groundbreaking Meta Superintelligence Labs and our drive to put personal genius level AI into everyone's hands. They say never meet your heroes, but I keep my signature legible because I remember being a kid chasing tennis legends for theirs. But forget the nostalgia because Coco Gauff just dismantled the billion-dollar Hollywood machine and left them absolutely terrified. Stop scrolling and listen because what went down at the Dolby Theatre last night was not your standard red carpet photo op. It was a precision tactical strike. You had a 21-year-old Grand Slam winner walking into the most guarded room in America and telling every mogul, every studio boss, and every tech giant resting in their golden chairs that their empires are built on total ethical rot. And just to show them she wasn't playing games, she put her own money where her mouth is. You are watching Chatterbox, so strap in because the aftershocks from Gauff's monologue are shattering the industry and Hollywood is in a full-blown meltdown. Listen, if you were anywhere near the velvet ropes and crystal lights of Los Angeles last night, you saw history break in real time. This wasn't the usual circle of millionaires clapping for their own reflections. This wasn't another PR-sanctified speech thanking managers and brand partners. What you saw was raw, high-octane mutiny that has corporate boardrooms from the West Coast to New York locking down in panic. We are talking about 10 seconds of dead air in a room that dictates global culture. 10 seconds where the only sound in the hall was the collective heart rate of uncomfortable billionaires spiking. 10 seconds that either incinerated millions in sponsorship deals for Gauff or instantly crowned her the most influential athlete on Earth. You have to understand the stage she was standing on. This wasn't a sweaty post-game interview where adrenaline is pumping and you can blame a slip-up on exhaustion. This was the Gala of Galas, a black tie fortress where a single ticket costs more than most families owe on their houses. We are looking at a summit of the untouchable elite. These are the puppet masters deciding what streams on your TV, what shoes your children demand, and which politicians get war chests. The climate control in that room is locked at a pristine 70 degrees. The lighting is engineered to make ruthless tycoons look like saints. The vintage bubbly costs more per glass than a monthly paycheck. It's a bubble, a sanctuary where power high-fives power. And right into this lion's den walks Coco Gauff, fresh off her French Open win in 2025. She is on top of the world looking lethal in an emerald dress worth more than a luxury sedan. On paper, she is a safe bet for the Lifetime Impact Award. She is young, she is brilliant. She is a marketing dream with a $1 million smile that moves cereal boxes and energy drinks. She is supposed to be the grateful prodigy who nods to the Academy, praises the sponsors' cries on cue, and keeps the party moving. But that script got shredded, completely. When they announced her name, the room erupted in thunder, because everyone loves a champion, especially one they think they own. She ascended the stage, her gown shimmering under the lights, looking every bit the international superstar. She took that heavy trophy, probably engraved with the name of some donor, needing an ego boost, and stood at the mic. She adjusted the stand. And then, according to 3 insiders who were on the ground, the room temperature plunged 20 degrees in 5 seconds flat. One source, a young agent at a top-tier talent firm, who talked to us off the record because truth-telling is a career death sentence in this town, gave us the scoop. Every phone was out recording for the gram, expecting the standard motivational fluff. Dream big, grind hard, trust your gut, buy this merchandise. But the moment she locked eyes with the front row, the studio heads and tech gods, the energy died. It got icy. It got awkward. Really fast. We have the transcript of what Gauff actually unleashed. Let's dissect this line by line, because every syllable was a guided missile targeted at the establishment's chest. She opened with silence, not a nervous freeze, but a weaponized pause. She stared at the award, then swept the room, drilling into the eyes of people who are never looked at by anyone not begging for a check. The live feed in their press room reportedly caught a legendary producer slamming his drink down so hard the whole table flinched. A tech CEO was spotted frantically thumbing his phone, likely ordering his PR crisis team to prepare the lifeboats. Word has it that a high-level studio executive was frantically whispering to an aide, desperate to kill the live feed before the broadcast spiraled out of control. But Coco was nowhere near done. She was just getting started. Success arriving early brings a debt that must be paid, she announced. This moment marked the final transformation of the woman we know as Coco Gauff. The world has witnessed her maturation frame by frame. We watched her explode onto the grass at Wimbledon at just 15 years of age. A prodigy sporting braces and braids staring down Venus Williams, the very icon who inspired her to pick up a racket. We witnessed the heartbreak after defeats. We saw the crushing burden of being dubbed America's savior before she was even old enough to cast a ballot. We watched her maneuver that treacherous path every young black female athlete is forced to walk speak up, and you're labeled a problem. Stay silent and you're branded as out of touch. For years, Coco danced along that razor's edge with absolute elegance. She followed the script. She gave the media their smiles. She put everyone at ease. But tonight, right here, she took a pair of shears to the safety net. She abandoned the balancing act entirely. She was done prioritizing the comfort of the powerful. Privilege morphs into duty the second you understand that fairness is a myth, she proclaimed. The gravity of those words hit hard specifically because of the audience she was addressing. She was locking eyes with individuals hoarding more advantages than the average person could accumulate in 10 lifetimes. People admitted to elite universities because of a family donation. People whose film careers launched solely due to a famous last name. These are folks who have never lost sleep over medical bills, student debt, or the choice between paying rent and buying food. Standing there was a young woman who earned every trophy through sweat, yet still remembers the grit of reality in a way that Room of Tycoons never could. She was forged on the cracked public hard courts of Delray Beach, Florida, with her father as her only guide. She has been brutally honest about the psychological toll of having your teenage years dissected on a global stage. She understands the weight of millions tracking every step, praying for a stumble, just so they can publish articles about squandered talent. She concluded her address without offering a single customary expression of gratitude to the organizers. There was no nod to sponsors, no credit given to the machine. She merely stated that a voice is useless if it is just noise. It must claim ownership, and with that she pivoted and marched off the podium. Her emerald dress flowed behind her like a wake, abandoning a hall filled with entertainment moguls frozen in awkward paralysis. The quiet that descended wasn't born of reverence, it wasn't thoughtful reflection. It was the terrified hush of puppet masters realizing the strings had been cut. You could practically hear publicists running risk assessments in their heads, while brand managers debated whether to drop her or capitalize on the rebellion. It was raw, unfiltered panic masquerading as polite surprise. But this is the precise moment the narrative shifts from intriguing to nuclear. If the saga ended with a trending clip that fades after a week, it would be just another forgettable Hollywood episode. We are used to stars preaching justice before returning to their mansions to post sponsored ads. We have seen that show 1,000 times. We know the ending. However, Coco Gauff decided she was rewriting the entire script. While the elite nursed expensive cocktails at the after-party, whispering about her potential career suicide, a breaking news alert shattered the atmosphere. But this notification did not originate from the PR desks at Nike. It was not released by Head Tennis, her agency, or any corporate backers. It came straight from the athlete herself, and the details of that document have sent corporate executives into a full-blown crisis. The initiative launches sustained youth programs specifically built to guide kids through the psychological minefield she navigated without a map. We are addressing the trauma of public adolescence, where errors are televised and strangers dictate your identity before you even know yourself. This is a tangible, aggressive follow-up to her manifesto about prioritizing duty over comfort. She analyzed the fortune she amassed through grueling matches and declared, "This wealth is a burden if I do not use it to repair the broken rungs of the ladder behind me." She is effectively imposing a tax on her own income. It is voluntary, permanent, and devoid of any corporate naming rights or hidden deductions. This maneuver catapults her from the realm of sports superstar into the arena of revolutionary icon. That is terrifying for the establishment because if a 21-year-old can execute this without a corporate safety net, if she can do it without a massive foundation or a PR team polishing the optics, then what justification does the billionaire studio executive have? What valid excuse is left for the tech CEO? How can these elites dropping more cash on a single dinner than a family spends on food in a year justify sitting on their hands? But to truly grasp the magnitude of this explosion, we have to rewind and track the last 12 months of Coco Gauff's evolution, because this didn't happen in a vacuum. This was not some spur-of-the-moment outburst. We are witnessing the climax of a year-long war where she reclaimed her soul and refused to be handled by anyone. It began with her 2025 season. Snatching the French Open trophy wasn't just about adding another cup to the shelf. It was mental warfare. Do you recall her words on the clay in Paris? She dropped that Tyler the Creator line, "If I told you I doubted myself, I'd be lying." Back then, pundits brushed it off as standard post-game adrenaline. But hindsight is 20/20. She was handing us the blueprint. She was declaring war on imposter syndrome and refusing to shrink herself for anyone's comfort ever again. Fast forward to April 2025, she launches Coco Gauff Enterprises, fires the old guard, and builds her own empire from scratch. That was the flare gun signaling she demanded total sovereignty over her name and her future. You don't launch a corporation if you're happy being a puppet cashing checks and following orders. You do it when your ambition outgrows the box they put you in. When you are prepared to gamble everything on your own potential, a legitimate high-stakes bet. And don't overlook the Australian Open drama in January 2026 that was the dress rehearsal for this gala shocker. Remember the racket smash heard around the world? A standard release for male players every 15 minutes, yet when cameras caught her private fury, it became a scandal. Or when the hot mic caught her comparing the tour to a zoo, highlighting the suffocating surveillance. The press tore her apart. The headlines were absolutely savage. Op-eds demanded she fix her attitude, but guess what? Coco didn't blink. She offered zero apologies. No PR sanctified statement, no sorry if I offended you nonsense, crafted by a crisis team. She doubled down. She attacked the privacy and invasion head on. She exposed the industry's voyeurism profiting billions off athletes' pain while judging their humanity. That was the opening act. Coco was testing the electric fence, daring them to shock her. And she realized the world kept turning. Sponsors panicked, maybe. Suits in boardrooms likely sweated through their shirts, but the fans, they worshipped it. The new wave, the Gen Z crowd, sick to death of plastic idols and corporate scripts, they devoured every second. So when she stormed that gala stage last night, it wasn't a tantrum. It was a calculated strike by a woman who realized the machine wanted to own her. They wanted the rights to her joy, her tears, her voice, and her legacy. They wanted inspirational for sales and silent for stocks. Coco just rewrote the entire playbook. Now when big brands pitch endorsement deals, athletes are going to pause. They'll ask, Coco gives 20% to mental health with zero strings attached. So why exactly must I wear your logo and obey your rules just to help my people? She shattered the charity industrial complex, where philanthropy is just a tax write-off with a logo slap. There is legitimate terror running through sports agencies right now. They fear Coco is becoming unmanageable corporate code for she thinks for herself. These empires rely on puppets who read teleprompters and fear controversy more than injustice. Coco Gauff has made it crystal clear. She will shred the script and speak her truth whenever she damn well pleases. And to the control freaks, that makes her a threat to the bottom line. But the visionaries, the smart money, they see the gold mine. They know this raw authenticity is exactly what Gen Z and Alpha crave from their icons. They are done with sanitized statements that use 1,000 words to say absolutely nothing. They are done with influencers who fake virtue while taking cash from the villains. People are starving for raw, messy, expensive honesty, even when it hurts to look at. By flipping the table on the system, by refusing to dance to their tune, Coco has actually made herself the ultimate prize for brands desperate to catch the cultural wave. She is the real deal in a digital wasteland of deepfakes, AI ghosts, and PR smoke and mirrors. A flesh and blood icon in a manufactured universe. And let me tell you, there is a massive army of buyers ready to pay a premium for that kind of grit. People who support brands that stand for something real, not just whatever the data says is trending this week. We are witnessing a legacy being carved out in real time. But let's zoom out for a second, because Coco isn't the first warrior to wield a racket like a weapon for change. Look back at the titans who paved this road, shattering every glass ceiling in sight. Serena Williams didn't just play the game, she rewrote the entire rulebook by refusing to apologize for her existence. She rocked catsuits that gave the old guard a heart attack because she dared to challenge their fragile ideas of what a tennis player should look like. She brought devastating power to a sport obsessed with polite grace. She forced the world to talk about race, gender, and the pay gap, all while stacking up more Grand Slam trophies than almost anyone in the history books. She proved you could be a marketing juggernaut and a cultural revolutionary at the exact same time. That winning goal didn't mean selling your soul. Then Naomi Osaka flipped the script on mental health. Most famously when she walked away from the French Open to save her sanity, choosing her psychological survival over the media machine trying to chew her up. She forced the world to accept that athletes are breathing humans, not just products, built for our consumption. She took the heat, lost the checks, and stood tall because her piece was not for sale. Now enter Coco Gauff, the perfect storm born from these two legends. She wields Serena's killer business instinct and competitive fire fused with Naomi's emotional intelligence and iron boundaries. But she is taking it to the next level. She is turning her activism into an institution. Serena and Naomi moved mountains with their voices, but voices can fade when the career ends. By launching this fund, Coco is building a fortress that will stand long after she hangs up her racket. Let's be real, tennis careers are terrifyingly short. Imagine it: one blown knee, a shattered spine, or a single freak mishap, and it is lights out. Just like that, the spotlight vanishes and your empire crumbles into dust. Compare that to a foundation bankrolling mental health care for thousands of struggling kids. That is the kind of legacy that echoes forever. A scholarship that rewards grit and potential over a killer backhand that changes lives. That is how you break generational curses and build ladders for kids who don't have $1 million arm to save them. But I need to hear from you. This isn't a lecture, it's a conversation, and I want you in the ring. Was Coco's speech the brutal wake-up call the elites desperately needed? Or was it the wrong time and the wrong place to drop a bombshell? Do you think other athletes have the guts to follow her lead and build these sponsor-free empires? Or is this a power move only a prodigy like Coco can afford without risking career suicide? Will the sponsors strike back? Or does this controversy actually make her brand untouchable in the end? Hold on, because we need to confront the single biggest issue right now. Does this shock your perspective on stardom and social justice? Are you going to rally behind the athletes who scream for change or stick with the ones who stay on the sidelines? Blow up the comments section right now. I am down there reading every single one and roasting the bad takes. If you love this deep dive into the real story behind the headlines, if you are sick of the fluff, then destroy that like button. It genuinely helps us beat the algorithm and reach people hungry for the truth. And if you haven't joined the Chatterbox army yet, hit subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the breakdown on the stories that actually matter. This is Chatterbox, signing off with the golden rule. Watch the hands, not the lips. Anyone can deliver a pretty speech. Anyone can post an inspirational quote on Instagram. But Coco Gauff backed up her words with a legally binding contract that actually bleeds cash for the cause. That is the difference between performing for clout and fighting for change. Catch you in the next one. And remember, the revolution will not be sponsored.